That means that it may go live on us here at any moment. Seems like you can't really tell that. We will be live streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube simultaneously. And that looks like it works. So the people that are here, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right away. And today we are going to be talking about different online business challenges, including marketing, sales conversions, and social media. This is a co-hosted webinar. And my name is Greg Jameson. People don't know me. You can see some of my qualifications up there. Basically, I've been doing e-commerce websites since the very beginning of the internet. Excuse me. And a number of years ago, I don't even remember how long it's been, I was at a meeting in downtown Denver and was sitting next to this young lady that I started talking to, and her name is Valerie Morris. And she told me that she lived in a log cabin in Franktown, which I could not believe because I live in a log cabin in Franktown. So you can see Valerie and I hanging out together. These are our houses. We both live in log cabins in Franktown. But before I get into any more of the presentation, I just want to have a big welcome here for Valerie, and go ahead and say a few things yourself if you want to, Valerie, before I jump into my presentation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg. Yeah, it's always fun. Whenever I'm at networking events like up in Denver, people ask you where you live, and I'm like, well, it's kind of 50-50 if people have even heard of our town, let alone have somebody who lives like, not even a mile away. So that's really fun to run into somebody like that. But yeah, we're coming to you live from the log cabins today. So, but yeah, I've been in the marketing space here for about, 14, 15 years, and have had my own business here for about 10. And I've seen social media evolve right in front of my eyes. It's amazing how much social media changes and how fast it changes. So I'm excited to share some of that knowledge with everyone today, and just want to thank everyone for joining us.
Awesome. So let me go ahead and jump into my presentation. And I just want to share this slide with people here to let you know that basically when the pandemic happened, e-commerce jumped forward like 10 years in a period of 3 months. And it hasn't slowed down. So this is the best time that has ever been to be in e-commerce. But at the same time, there's always lots of challenges associated with it as well. And we're going to talk about a few of those today. But before I do, I've got a pop quiz for you. I've got slide number 1 here and slide number 2. And between these two, slide 1, slide 2, if you could, just in the chat area, go ahead and tell me which one of these two you think is going to sell more, 1 or 2. And don't just say why, like don't just say 1 because I like the cute pink butterflies, but don't just say 1, say why you think it will sell more, either because I like the cute pink butterflies or number 2, for whatever reason. And the answer that somebody gave here too, it's got a lot more options, pictures, video, etc. And that is typically what we see as to why something's going to sell more. In fact, if you look at number 1, if you look closely at it, I'll go back so you can see it better. It has 2 ratings. Number 2 has 51,204 reviews. So it's got a lot more reviews. It obviously is selling more. And the reasons are that it's got a video, it's got a lot more pictures, it's got a nice long description so that people can tell exactly what it is that they are going to be purchasing. For all those reasons, number 2 vastly outsells number 1. And this all has to do with the customer experience and what you can expect to get when you're looking to buy something online. So these are some of the challenges that we're going to talk about today. There's obviously a lot more of them. This is a series of webinars that I've been doing with other people to talk about different online challenges. But the first one I want to talk about is customer experience. And you'll notice here that there's a bus, a tour bus, and it's actually from Colombia, South America. I recently returned from there, and I wanted to go on a trip to this little town called Guatapé. And the reason is they've got this feature there. It's El Penol de Guatapé. It is this rock, and you can see that there is a series of stairs to go up there. In fact, there are 710 steps from the bottom to the top. Well, the biggest challenge here actually was not walking those stairs. The biggest challenge was booking this tour. And I actually just released a blog post today about that very thing. And it was just a nightmare to book this trip. I had a friend who is from South America, actually from Ecuador, that recommended this tour. So I thought, it's got to be good. I'm going to book it with this tour. Well, I ended up going to their website, and they said, in order to book the tour, you have to message us on WhatsApp, which I did. And it ended up taking 56 messages back and forth to get this tour booked on WhatsApp. I suggest you read the blog post if you want to get the whole story, but obviously that's not a good customer experience to have that happen. When the pandemic hit, we actually saw that customer experience overtook price and product as a key brand differentiator. So some of the different things that create great customer experiences are personalization, the details, speed and security, interaction, information, and then the whole process of checking out your payment methods and shipping and so forth. So I'm going to talk about just a couple of these things. The first one is personalization. And I've got this short video here that I want to share with you that someone sent me recently.
Hey, Greg, Chris Ward here. Now, what I'm about to say, I think there's a lot of weight to it because I would describe myself as podcast junkie. When I found your show, I think I ate up like 3 or 4 episodes. And before I said, all right, Chris, you need to move on with your day. I just found it was sort of like, I don't even know how to, I felt like I was in a library with just knowledge all around me and the texture of that room. That's how the interviews just sort of navigate. And there is just such a breadth to the learning that you guide us through. And as I said in my 5-star review, time well spent. So as I was listening.
Okay, so obviously, if somebody sends you something that personalized, it's going to grab your attention. You can bet that I responded back to Chris and had her on my podcast, even though I hadn't been doing any recent podcast episodes. Now, a few months ago, I was at Disneyland. And we got there early. My wife is a Disneyland junkie, and she's like, I want to be there when the park opens. So we got there, and we wanted to go on the new Star Wars ride called Rise of the Resistance. And we were one of the very first people in line. And as the park started to open up, I looked back over my shoulder, and this is the crowd that I saw of people all wanting to get into the new Star Wars ride. And what do you think it is that why people will crowd into Disney and wait for hours to get on a ride like this? Well, it's the experience. Disney makes the magic happen. Every single detail is considered. Obviously, when you walk through there, it looks like you are on a Star Wars set, but even things like the snack bars look like they belong. The details are important because it's a part of the total experience. There's a quote here from Jeff Bezos saying that they see their customers as invited guests, and that every important aspect of the customer experience is critical to what Amazon is doing. And this has actually made it so that Amazon has a higher corporate reputation than even companies like Apple and Walt Disney. Here's a short video from Jeff Bezos that kind of explains this.
A lot has happened over the last 15 years. As I said, we've made a lot of mistakes. We've learned some things. And I want to tell you everything I know. I can guarantee you everything I know. It's a very short list. This won't take long. And it's complete too. All right, well, the first thing I know is that you need to obsess over customers. I can tell you that we have been doing this from the very beginning, and it's the only reason that Amazon.com exists today in any form. We've always put customers first. When given the choice of obsessing over competitors or obsessing over customers, we always obsess over customers. We pay attention to what our competitors do, but it's not where we put our energy. It's not where we get our motivation from. We really like to start with customers and work backwards. And again, that is the key thing that I know, and it covers a lot of other mistakes. If you're truly obsessed over customers, it'll cover a lot of errors.
So Amazon has obviously set the bar, and customers expect that all websites are going to match the standards that Amazon has put in place. So that's what we are trying to achieve with a customer experience. We saw in the example of the umbrella earlier about the product descriptions. And when it comes to product descriptions, typically more is better. The internet does not have a space limitation like traditional ads, and your customers are coming to the internet looking for information. So you need to give it to them. If all you do is put up a picture and don't tell them what that product can do for them, then you are missing the boat. In fact, 67% of consumers who have visited an online store with the intent of making a purchase left because the retailer did not provide enough information. So if you can, in the chat, just go ahead and tell me what your biggest takeaway is so far. And I'm going to keep right on going so that we don't waste anyone's time here, and tell you a little bit about effective marketing campaigns. You'll notice the picture here of a Ford F-150 against a Tesla truck. This was an actual ad that Tesla ran showing that the Tesla truck was more powerful than the Ford F-150 was. It caused a lot of controversy. Diehard Ford fans and even Ford themselves obviously started combating things with their own statistics and so forth. But that is what makes a great marketing campaign, is the ability to kind of shock people and get them to start talking about your ads. Tesla also launched one of their cars into space. Again, a great way to get people starting to talk about your product because of what they did. Now, not to be outdone, one of the best marketing stunts that I've seen was Jeff Bezos having William Shatner go into space on one of his rockets. Again, it gets people talking about what's going on. Then there was the drone delivery announcement that Amazon made. Amazon has never fulfilled on this promise, but it got a lot of people talking about drone delivery. In fact, when this happened, I had put together a little bit of a parody video myself with a friend of mine where I was talking about new delivery by drone. And I put this video together with Joel Com, who had a drone, and I went over to his house and we filmed his drone delivering my book, Amazon's Dirty Little Secrets, which the good thing about that was by taking advantage of things that are current, it pushed that book up to #1 on Amazon. Taking advantage of things that are current and in the news is always a good thing to do with your marketing campaigns, such as Burger King putting the poop emoji on their menu. Take advantage of current trends. Now let's talk a little bit about, okay, we've got people, we've done some marketing, we've got a great customer experience. How are we going to convert the people that come to our website into customers, people that are actually buying from us? And there's a whole bunch of different things that actually factor into this, including the customer experience, which we've talked about, but also having great content, good product descriptions, product demo videos, leveraging social proof, fear of missing out, improving their trust by putting review seals and logos of people that have worked with you on your site. Make it really hard for people to say no by doing things like providing free shipping, free returns, and money back guarantees. Use scarcity and urgency, like, hey, I've only got 5 of these left in stock, hurry up and buy it. Time on the site, exit intent pop-ups, live chat, shopping cart abandonment. We're going to talk about some of these things here. The first is keeping people on your site longer. The longer someone stays on your site, the more likely it is that they're actually going to become a customer. And one of the best ways to get people to stay on your site longer is to embed videos onto your site. Videos take a while to watch, and the result of that is that people will stay longer and they'll absorb more information. So use videos on your site, use them in your product descriptions. If somebody is about to leave your site, I recommend using an exit intent pop-up. That means, they're about to exit. So we're going to throw up a pop-up that says, hey, before you leave, here's a coupon code. Go ahead and use this now, or make sure that you get future coupon codes from us. Sign up for our email list, whatever the purpose of that is. I don't recommend pop-ups on your site when people first get there because people find that annoying. But when people are about to leave, it has been shown that exit intent pop-ups work extremely well. Another great way to keep people engaged with your site is through the use of chatbots. And these chatbots can be automated artificial intelligence bots, or you can have bots on there that are ones where you are interacting with the customer in real time. Shopping cart abandonment is a huge issue for e-commerce sites. You can actually track those people. There's various plugins that you can use that will allow you to bring people back to your website once they have put things into their shopping cart and then left without checking out. Another good thing to do is use a loyalty program. This is, every time somebody makes a purchase, they get points. Every time somebody visits a page, they share an article, whatever it might be, they get points, and then they can use those points towards future purchases. In fact, at one of the conventions that I was speaking at recently, someone had this idea, and I thought it was a great idea, is that instead of handing out business cards, which everybody's going to throw away, hand out gift cards. The gift cards can be, just a printed coupon code on your site, but that way people are going to hang on to that and become a customer. Now, this one might seem interesting to you, but instead of a traditional shopping cart, consider using a sales funnel for individual products. Actually, a sales funnel page is one where there's no navigation on there at all, no menus. The only thing that they can do is basically go through the process of actually getting the information, either saying, yes, I want it, or no, I don't. And if you want to do a screen capture of this page, this is actually the exact link that you can use to create an upsell or downsell page and take them through the funnel. Now, one other thing that you can do is to integrate your site with social media. This is something that really makes people stick around on your website longer, and you can even put your feeds into web pages by using a plugin like Smashballoon. People tend to interact more with your social media than they do on your website, and they actually even, I think, trust people a little bit more to interact with them on social media than on a website. So integrating your site with social media is a good thing to do. And don't forget about Pinterest. Pinterest is a visual search engine, and 87% of Pinterest users actually end up buying a product because of Pinterest. So Pinterest is a good social media platform to be using as it relates to your e-commerce website. And then you can also do social selling. So what you do is you can embed your store right onto your Facebook or Instagram pages. And the way that you do this is that you get a plugin called Facebook for Woocommerce plugin, and it connects your Woocommerce website to Facebook. And this allows you to do various different things, including uploading your entire online store. You can sync your products automatically. You can see here that in this example, I'm not syncing uncategorized or not for sale products, but every other product that I would put on this website and make it live immediately goes live on Facebook as well. Now, the real reason why Facebook put this plugin together is they want you to advertise on Facebook. They're trying to sell you ads, but this is a good thing because you can actually have one of your goals for your ad be to get more website purchases. And it will also, when you create this Facebook store, it will also create for you the ability to sell on Instagram. Now, Instagram has more limitations for selling on than Facebook does, but you can see that there are some pros here: easier buying experiences, chances of users buying from you, influencer marketing. The disadvantage is that not every brand has the ability to set up Instagram shopping for their account. If you want, you can screen capture this page and read through it on your own, but you can see that there are some limitations, and Instagram basically controls the way you sell. So if you don't meet their requirements, it's not going to work for you. And finally, use influencers to make product recommendations for you, whether it be on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. Influencers are a great way for you to close more deals. It turns out that only 1% of the users on the internet are actually content creators, which means that most people on the internet are just out there lurking. So let's say, for example, that you sell organic jam and you find somebody who's blogging about making videos. They're blogging or making videos about organic foods. Set them up as a brand ambassador for your product with an affiliate code, regardless of how few followers they have, because not many people are actually doing that. And if you can get anybody recommending your products, that is a positive thing. Again, in the chat, or at least for your own purposes, write down what your biggest takeaway is so far. And I'm going to have just one more short section here before I turn this over to Valerie, and that is sorting through information overload. You know that I've kind of been giving you a fire hose of information here so far, and there's all this information that's always out there. So I have put together a program that I call the 4 Ps coaching, where we talk about platform, product, page views, or getting traffic to your website, and purchases or sales conversions. And through this program, I've been able to help people significantly grow their sales. You can see one customer here started back in April, and they're now doing $49,000 a month in sales. A different client who's actually been at this a little bit longer, doing $147,000 in sales. I've got tons of testimonials. I don't need to read them to you, but you can see some of them here. I like this one. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd rate Greg a 15. Again, you can read these yourself, but the question that people have is, well, that's great. You can help me get my sales up, but how much is a website going to cost? And let's just look at a few stats here. So your average website is going to cost $12,000 to $150,000, depending upon what it is that you're trying to accomplish here. And then you've got maintenance costs in there that range from $35 a month to $5,000 a month. You've got digital marketing on top of that, $2,500 to $12,000 a month. Then you've got social media management. You've got SEO costs in there. It turns out that your cost to run an online business on the low end is going to cost you about $7,000 a month. I know that that's actually very low. I've had my own business with 30 employees before, and I can tell you that when you've got a lot of employees, that this cost of $57,000 a month is even going to probably end up being low. The average entry-level webmaster salary is like $57,000 a year, and the average entry-level digital marketing specialist is like $71,000 a year. This is a lot of money for you to be spending. So if you want to learn how to save all that money, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. You don't have to be spending all that money. I can save you $5,000 a month easily. But before I show you how to do that, I want to tell you one more quick story. And this is about my neighbor. Her name is Brooke. And she used to come over and watch our pets for us when we would be gone on trips. And it's been about a year ago now, I guess, that I called Brooke up and said, hey, can you come over and cat sit for us? And she's like, sure, but when I come over there, I want to talk to you. And she came over and she said, this is going to be the last time that I can cat sit for you. I was like, well, what's going on, Brooke? She's like, well, I'm now a TikTok influencer. And I kind of started laughing a little bit under my breath. And I was like, well, that's nice. How many followers do you have? 12 million. I about fell on the floor. Instead of me saying, forget about the stupid cat, Brooke, show me how you did that. I want you to be my coach. I was just so flabbergasted that I let it go by. Well, I checked up on her recently. She paid cash for a house at 18 years of age and now has 20 million followers. I don't want that to happen to you. Don't make the mistake of not going through my offer here on this slide to schedule a strategy session with me. It's something that you are going to be able to sit down with me one-on-one, and we're going to go through and see exactly how it is that we can make your online business better. And it's not a sales call. It's let's sit down and see if there's a way that it makes sense for us to do anything together. If not, that's fine. You're going to get some great ideas to implement in your business anyway. When you do this, Valerie has a book out called We're All Ears. And I'm going to get you a digital copy of her book when you schedule that strategy call with me. So here's the link again, webstoresltd.com/strategy. Book your call today. And with that, Valerie, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, thanks. And I mean, I learned a few things. I had a few good reminders in what you were sharing as well. So I appreciate all the insights that you shared there as well. So I'm going to pop over and share my screen with everyone. And we're going to hit this here. So can everybody see? Can't see easily if it's actually sharing or not. Is it sharing, Greg?
I am not seeing your screen yet.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't see my mouse. Well, that's fun. Well,
You should be able to share, it looks like.
yeah.
There you go.
All right. Does that work? Can we see just the slide?
You're good.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to be talking a little bit about social media and not just how to survive with all of the ongoing changes, but really how to thrive, how we can really make the most of this time. So right now, there's a lot of challenges that e-commerce businesses are facing, especially when it comes to social media. And I think probably the biggest frustration for people is the algorithms. It seems like social media, the companies constantly are changing things. It's hard to keep up. That's been the struggle for anyone, whether they're e-commerce or not. Ever since social media for business became kind of a thing, keeping up with algorithms and just all of the changes that are happening, it's a lot. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, just know that you are not alone. There's also a lot changing in just the way people are using social media and their behavior and what they're preferring or not preferring compared to a few years ago. So what used to work for you maybe before the pandemic is obviously there's been so many changes in user behavior simply because of the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of just different things happening and people not responding to the old ways of doing things. The other thing is that social media really has multiple areas of focus. It's not just, one thing that you're working on. There's a few different angles that we have to consider. And then, there's just the ongoing piece in any form of marketing where you need to have a strategy that's going to evolve and grow with you. So we're going to hit on these 4 areas here in the short time we have today. Obviously, if you've got any questions, my information will be there at the end. Of course, there aren't that many Valerie Morrises out there, except for one of the mothers of a Destiny Child singer. Can't remember which one. Her name is Valerie Morris. So if you Google me, that's who comes up. But All my Google alerts are for this other Valerie Morris. So I guess I need to just have a pop star daughter and then I'll be famous. Yeah, feel free to reach out if, we don't touch on something today that you really, really hoped we would. So as we look at the algorithms, I think it's important to note that for e-commerce specifically, there's this important balance of paid versus organic, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later on. But if paid social is not part of your strategy, I'd highly suggest you consider it, because there's a lot of things that you can do. Greg touched on a few of the different apps and things that you can do, but these social media profiles and these companies that have built these, they know that people are on there wanting to shop, and that they have a focused set of eyeballs. And by running ads, they make money and you make money. So the platforms are really incentivized to have be running ads. And the nice thing is that people are paying attention to ads on social. I found it very beneficial as a consumer, even just bedspreads. I was looking at a bedspread, looking at stuff, and the next thing I know, all of my ads on my Facebook and Instagram feed are from Overstock, Bed Bath & Beyond, Amazon, all these different places where I could get bedspreads. I don't have to go out and do the research as a consumer. I really like that feature that it starts feeding me suggestions versus me having to go do the searching. So there is interest from a consumer level to shop on social. Also keep in mind that when it comes to the algorithms, a lot of times people say in business, and you probably heard this before, they talk about shiny object syndrome, and they talk about it as a bad thing. And it is kind of a bad thing if you're just hopping from strategy to strategy or idea to idea without really fully fleshing it out. But on social media, if there is a new shiny feature or a new shiny object that a platform puts out, you should be flocking to that as soon as you can with as much energy as you can. It's not to say that you drop all your other strategies of what you're doing on that platform, but keep in mind that the original way that you could post on Facebook, for example, which was either text only or image with text, those types of posts are not going to get as much organic reach as compared to posting a Facebook Live video. Facebook wants you to use their new features. Instagram wants you to use their new features. They want you to try out their new stuff. And so they're going to reward you with great organic reach that you can't get with the old tactics. So that's just one thing I've seen from over 10, 12 years of just kind of diving into social media specifically, is seeing whenever they come out with some new thing, and I'm talking like a feature within a platform, when these new platforms come out, it's true, you can often get a lot of organic reach on a brand new platform, but there's also not as many users. If you already have a Facebook profile, you already have Instagram, you already have a YouTube channel, you already have an audience there. If you start using some of their new features within that platform, you'll start to see some great results. And over time, we typically see historically that those new features, they start to lessen and lessen the reach as time goes on. So jumping on as soon as you can, it's worth it. Now, if it's a brand new platform and you're trying to figure out like, hey, is this worth my time? That's a different question. But if you already have an audience on any of the major social media platforms, don't be afraid to jump into the new features when they come out. And then keep in mind that regardless of what happens with the algorithm, you always want to be focusing on nurturing your existing followers and fans, especially when it comes to e-commerce, because these are your repeat customers. These are the people who are going to be talking about you when they're out and about, when they're walking through the airport, when they're, posting forms. they're going to be much more likely to say, hey, I'm an advocate for the brand when they continually see you popping up in their feed. So keep in mind that just because a post may not reach and go viral every single time, connecting with your existing audience that you've already built on that platform, it does have value. So this next segment is a little bit to do with the algorithm and that shiny object that's kind of the big shiny object at the moment, but it also is a major shift in user behavior and the trends that we're seeing people, adopt. And that is this short form video. And that's really become popular with TikTok. Instagram Reels has kind of adopted that and tried to mimic that. Prior to that, there was Instagram stories where people were posting just like the short form content. And the nice thing here is when it comes to e-commerce, you can really create some fun video content. You don't have to have a huge video production budget necessarily. You can showcase the products, just people handling them, showing the features, physically getting a sense that's maybe a little bit more detailed, or it's from a different perspective than you would from like just photos that you'd see on the product page. But seeing your product in action is great. You can also create kind of like mini infomercials. Like you don't have to have a QVC show to be able to like sit there and make an explanation video or something that's really featuring your product in video format where you're talking about the product. You can also leverage influencers and micro-influencers, similar to what Greg was talking about. But I mean, these types of platforms from Instagram Reels, stories, TikToks, all of those are really great platforms to get and leverage these people like Greg's former cat sitter who have the huge audience to get your products in front of people. And I threw in micro-influencers in there because I really encourage people to not necessarily focus on just the giants, right? We want people who have a very targeted audience. So for example, my husband is a big bow hunter. He likes to shoot with a bow and arrow, and he's about to head out to go hunting here soon. That's a very specific community. And if one of the big hunters that he followed was using a specific backpack or a specific type of camouflage, he would pay attention. Now that micro-influencer may not have, the millions and billions of followers, but the audience that he does have, it might be smaller, but they are passionate about what they do, and they are passionate to follow that person. The other thing you can do with short form videos, you can give tutorials. You can answer your FAQs kind of in an interactive way. You can create this content, and then you can also multi-purpose it and put it on your website. Again, to speak to what Greg was saying of like keeping people on your site longer, you can, multi-purpose some of the social content to make your website produce more results for you, but also answer your questions and, provide information to customers in a way that's a little bit more interactive, maybe a little different than what they've seen before. And it shows a little bit more personality. Now, I put the and more in there because the reality is that the sky is the limit when it comes to this stuff. There are some creative things happening with these short form videos. We're not talking hour-long webinars here. We're talking a few minutes, sometimes just a few seconds, but the power, it packs a punch. So when it comes to some of these short form video things, the reality is that people love seeing the authenticity. And that's, I think, why they love seeing this kind of content in short form. They don't necessarily want the fully produced content. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they want the less polished content, especially in these Reels and TikTok videos. They want to see like the real product. They want to know that this hasn't been altered or photoshopped in any way. The other thing is you can really like showcase a cause. And brands that have that greater good and tell others about it, they do really well on social. It's something that you really want to get behind. This is just an example from Rare Form. They're a company that takes old billboards and repurposes them into bags, wallets, notebooks. I have one of their notebooks right here. I'm a huge fan of what they do because I care about sustainability and environmental responsibility. And I think it's really cool what they're doing. Like, it's super fun and unique. And I'm not the only one who would, say that. I included in the screenshot, this little part here where this woman is saying, I absolutely love what your company stands for. I've been wanting to change, blah, blah, blah. People interact with your content simply because they love what you stand for. So don't be afraid to showcase some of that. It doesn't have to always be about just the product. Sometimes, this post, for example, had no call to action. It had no link whatsoever included in it. And yet it also made a really big impact. And I have this sneaky suspicion that by incorporating these types of posts alongside ones that do have links and do have calls to action, and alongside some of the paid ads that they do, because I do get their paid ads served up to me, they are doing well. But posts like these are great because they reinforce to people why they should buy from you. So then when the ad pops up with the link and the call to action and the great deal that you can't pass up, you're ready to do something about it because you feel really good about the brand. So let's talk a little bit now about one of the other big challenges, and that is the fact that there are multiple areas of focus when it comes to social for e-commerce. And this is the big elephant in the room for a lot of us here. If you were doing social media for e-commerce, you were often in a spot where you were straddling the line between sales and customer support. So you've got people, intents of, I want to promote the product. I need to make sure that the brand is getting exposure. I need to make sure that we're nurturing our existing fans. That's all kind of proactive, right? But then you have this whole other side of your job where you have to be reactive. You have to be paying attention to what people are saying about your brand. You have to be watching your reviews and what your online reputation is. And you have to be able to respond to comments, whether they are public or private. And that's where messenger chatbots can come into play. This is where having a social listening tool. I use Agora Pulse. There's plenty of other tools out there that allow you to monitor your brand and see what's being said about you online. So that way you can respond. If you have disgruntled customers, you want to know about that. And a lot of times people are going to social media instead of the website. People are hitting up Twitter. They're messaging you on Facebook. They're messaging on Instagram. And if you are ignoring them, you're just creating enemies for your brand. It's really easy to create a raving fan. It's also really easy to create an enemy. So having that customer support side is also so important. And if you haven't really had that click in your mind that there are really these two sides to what I'm doing, I highly encourage you to think about it today. What are you doing to be proactive about your sales, but also what are you doing to be proactive about your customer support and how you're able to be reactive in a timely and appropriate manner? So as we start to get a little bit more strategic about what we're going to do, I want us to think about the fact that there's really a long game and a short game. There's different strategies that are going to help us move, to the next yard line. But there's also different strategies that are going to help us get to the touchdown and win the game. And so this is kind of where a lot of the stuff that Greg was talking about overlaps with social media. And this is where you have to think through, what are you doing now to get sales? And what are you doing in the future to get sales that your future self and your future brand will thank you for? SEO, for example, search engine optimization, that's ranking on Google. How well are you ranking? A lot of that has to do with how you are creating content and building out the pages on your website so that they are searchable, clear, easy to find. SEO results do not happen overnight. And so therefore, this is more of a long game approach. But once you have that reputation built up with Google or other search engines, it's generally takes a little bit to get knocked out and down in the ranks. It's takes a while to get, but it also takes a while to lose. And so building up that rapport is really important. And you can be doing it while you do some of the short game thing like Google ads and social ads. So if you need a quick win, you definitely need to be thinking about what your paid ad strategy is. And you need to be thinking about, where are people finding you? What are people looking for when they go to look for your product? If you're selling something that's pretty common, people know what they need to buy and they're out doing searches for it, you might find that you want to base your ratio of ad spend higher on Google ads versus social media ads, because social media ads typically interrupt people. Google ads, usually people have an intent to search for that item. I'm searching for a bedspread. I'm going to go out and search for bedspread on Google. Social media is telling me, hey, you haven't necessarily thought you needed one, but hey, now that you see this ad, that bedspread you have is actually getting a little old and you need a new one. So it's interrupting someone and planting an idea in their head. When you have a product that people have never really heard of, you actually might benefit more from social media ads, because people aren't necessarily searching for that brand new AI powered blah, blah, blah that no one's ever heard of. You want to interrupt people and tell them, hey, this exists and this is going to solve XYZ problem for you. And then alongside that, you've got your organic social, which when I think about it, it kind of parallels SEO in the sense that it's the long game approach. Just because organic social and SEO are long game strategies, that does not mean you need to ignore them. It just might mean that you put different expectations on what they're going to turn around for you in the immediate short term. Again, if you need fast sales, you want to make sure that you have a healthy ad budget. However, if you want to nurture your audiences long term and not have to pay as much in the long run and always be reliant on ads to deliver 100% of your sales, you want to make sure you have some long game in there as well. The other thing I like to talk to people about when we're talking strategy is to not forget these gentle giants when it comes to the online space. And some of these kind of straddle the line between social media and just digital marketing at large. Greg mentioned Pinterest as well. He said, don't forget it. And that's essentially what I'm saying here. Pinterest is one of those platforms that has an amazing potential for you, especially with shoppable tags. There's so much potential to get traffic, and people regularly go to Pinterest. I did it this morning, looking for some stuff about essential oils and making my house smell good. I went to Pinterest to get ideas. I didn't go to Google. I didn't go to Amazon. I went to Pinterest. And so the shoppable piece of Pinterest is huge. Don't forget about it, because just because it's not as sexy as Instagram or TikTok, it doesn't mean that it's not a viable social platform. And again, it straddles the line between search engine and social platform in a lot of people's minds. YouTube does the same thing. And YouTube, I mean, it's the second largest search engine outside of Google, but that's kind of cheating because Google owns it. So, but YouTube is a huge platform in the sense of people are out searching for how-tos. They're searching for ideas. And if you can provide the how-to or the answer to their question with also, and here's exactly what you need to get to solve this problem. We've taken the guesswork out of it. Here you go. It's an amazing tool. And then I also threw an Amazon influencer program in here as well, because there's a lot you can do with Amazon Live Video if you get accepted into the influencer program. If you can even just get accepted as an Amazon affiliate, you can sell a lot and promote a lot of your products in the content you're creating and help continue to push people back to Amazon. So if you're not thinking about like from a content creation standpoint, could I be leveraging Amazon? There's a lot you can do. That's a whole webinar or 2 or 3 in and of itself. But some gentle giants that are lurking in the background that if you haven't embraced, highly recommend you consider them when it comes to your content marketing. And, it straddles the line between social and content marketing, really, but it should be part of your strategy if you're thinking comprehensively about things. So now, as we kind of think through and wrap up here, you want to think through where to focus. Okay. So you want to think through, like, where is your audience? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Facebook? If the answer is that your people are baby boomers and older who are retired and, they're probably on Facebook. They may not be over on TikTok yet. However, if your audience is really those college age kids, emerging professionals, you need to be paying attention to where are they hanging out, and odds are they're over on TikTok, just as an example there. Also think through, where do you jive? Where does your brand fit? What fits the personality of your brand? That's obviously something you want to take into consideration, because if you don't jive with the platform, it's going to be really difficult to succeed there. And then you want to think through, like, what your goal is, whether you're doing the long term, the long game, or the short game approach. Think through what's your main reason for posting and for creating content on that platform. That's really important to do. And then also think through where you have opportunities. Like I said, newer platforms, a lot of times you have a lot of opportunity. And you also want to have an idea of, like, where is your competition playing? Take a look at where you have opportunities, see if there's opportunities to fill a gap or to jump in and join where all your competition is. You might have a different approach depending upon your industry, but it's an important question to answer. So I know we dove into a lot just now, but hopefully you've gathered at least 1 or 2 nuggets that you can take with you today to help harness and improve your strategy with your social media for your e-commerce. Again, like I mentioned earlier, if you'd like to connect more, if you've got other questions, I am happy to connect. Feel free to reach out to me. My information's here on this slide. And here's me with my book that Greg so graciously mentioned earlier. So I'm looking forward to getting to share some of those copies with people. If you set up that call with Greg, feel free to connect with me. I'm always looking forward to connecting with new people.
Awesome, Valerie. And the reciprocal is true. You connect with Valerie, I'm going to make sure that you guys get a copy of my ebook on Monetize Your Expertise as well. So it works both ways here. Valerie mentioned a number of things in the presentation that I just kind of want to go over again and ask her some questions. And then if you guys have questions for either one of us, you can either put them in the question and answer area or raise your hand, and we can't see you physically raise your hand, but there's a raise hand option, I think, in here somewhere, where you can then we'll make sure that you can actually talk on the webinar and ask your questions to us. But back to some of the things that Valerie said, I was busy taking notes here. One is short form videos and using influencers and even micro influencers, and that kind of related back to the whole TikTok thing, but it also works on Instagram and YouTube and various other platforms that have basically started utilizing short form videos. And she talked about these micro influencers, and that's something that I think is absolutely huge. You may not be like Brooke with 20 million followers out there, but if somebody is talking about things in your space, utilize them. That even goes to the Amazon influencer program. I'm an Amazon influencer. I've got some friends that are Amazon influencers. And I know that if a brand was to come to me and say, hey, I'd like for you to make a video about this product. I'm going to give you the product. Can you make a video about it and push it out to your people? I'm going to do that because one, Amazon then pays me if people buy that product, but it also gives both you and me credibility as part of that influencer program. The same thing is true with TikTok. Set these people up so that they've got an affiliate link with you, and they are going to be more than happy to be pushing product for you. Valerie also mentioned YouTube and the links in the videos. One thing that actually happens is because of the fact that YouTube is owned by Google, if you put links in your video descriptions, those links are a huge plus for SEO juice. In other words, make a video about your product, link back to your product page, and that single act of linking back to your product page is probably going to be one of the best things that you can do for your search engine optimization. The question that I've got for you, Valerie, and this can kind of lead to a discussion here if anyone wants to jump in on this as well, is that social ads have been great up until a couple of years ago. And then Facebook got slapped around a little bit, and the whole industry has changed. It's not just Facebook, but people have started to become really conscious of the fact that they're being tracked on the internet. You were talking about that. Oh, now all of a sudden I'm seeing these ads for a bedspread or whatever. Facebook ads don't have the reach that they used to. Well, they have the reach, but they don't have the targeting that they used to. I can't target people that are specifically looking for bedspreads. Tell me your thoughts on that and what we can do.
Well, one of my favorite strategies when it comes to Facebook ads is I like to do video ads for awareness. And the goal is video views. They're super cheap to run. You sometimes get a few clicks from them, but odds are like you're just getting video views. And then you can follow it up with a retargeted ad. And what I mean by that is that you are sending another ad, but that ad is going specifically to people who have only watched a certain percentage of the video that you had from your other original ad. So you are building your own audience essentially. And it's full of people who actually have interest in your product. So I found that that's a more efficient way to manage your budget when it comes to some of these ads and the limitations that are being put on things from a privacy standpoint. The reality though is there's still a lot of great ways to target people. You just have to get a little bit more creative with things. But the video view ad is one that, you can leverage that audience time and time again on multiple ads. So if you have a robust strategy in place, building your own audience is always going to be the way to go.
Yeah, and you can upload a list of emails into Facebook ads still. And
yeah, there's still a lot of robust options. It is for sure. They have limited some of that, like, cold filters of who you could target from a cold ad. But yeah, there's still a lot of great opportunity. Facebook still continues, or, the Meta platform, Facebook/Instagram, still continues to be a really affordable option when it comes to social media ads.
Yeah. And what about organic posts? Is there any specific strategy that you recommend for people on how they should do organic posts? One of which may be hire you.
Well, yeah, we've been saying this for years though, like video is really like that. We saw that trend coming. It's still continuing to be a major player for folks. So any type of video content you can create is going to outperform other types of content for sure.
Awesome. So do we have any questions from any of the attendees? I know that there were some people that prior to the webinar, they specifically had some questions, which is part of the reason why I'm asking this is I want to make sure that your questions got answered in terms of integrating social with e-commerce or social media questions in general while we've got Valerie here. Okay, Lindsay. Do you have any tips yet for marketing in the metaverse?
Well, I will say the best tips that I've seen are not directly on the metaverse, because I think the general consumer population is still a long way away from being comfortable maybe or trusting of the metaverse, especially when it comes to financial transactions. But I will say just the concept of the metaverse being similar to Patreon, and that concept I think is a great place to start right now, is that if you understand the concept of creating these products specifically for exclusive members only, that's similar to how Patreon is right now. You pay to be part of Patreon and you get access to specific things that everybody else does not get access to. So I would focus more right now on observing what's going on there, you getting comfortable in the metaverse, but also building up your own content within something like a Patreon, or at least building stuff with that mindset in mind, so that when the general population is comfortable, it's easy for you to make that transition and jump over.
Yeah, my take on the whole Web 3.0 thing, including the metaverse, is that there's a lot of people that would really like to have it say it's here now. The reality is that there's so many moving pieces to it. I think that it may take us 5 or 10 years to get to where the people that envision the metaverse being reality, that it's as commonplace today as it is to go place an order online.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think we're still a little bit of ways away from that, but
yeah,
it is coming.
All right, let's see here. Josie, I need some specific help figuring out what is wrong with the shops I set up on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram shop shows temporarily unavailable. Josie, contact me individually after this and we will work on that with you. And I think with that, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks again, Valerie. Thanks to all the people that attended live here today. If you have any other questions, contact either Valerie or me, and we're going to do that cross-book exchange thing for you. So appreciate everybody.
Thanks, guys. And thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me on this webinar. It's fun.
You bet. Thanks.